knew that the bank was not going to be on my side. I had to negotiate, paid over $1,200 for the inspection. That was a huge mistake. Guess who got stuck paying for the difference? It feels like right now a lot of people are trying to figure out how to afford a house. So I thought we would dive deeper on the first-time home buyer experience. So here are 3 costly mistakes to avoid when buying a home. Mistake number 1, focusing on the mortgage and not the total cost of ownership, both in time and money. When buying a home for the first time, you need to do your own math. You can't solely rely on your pre-approval letter. The bank will lend you the maximum possible and even take some risk on you not being able to afford the loan, because the interest is all upside for them. And so the larger the sum of money that you borrow, the more they will make money on interest. You need to be grounded on the math whenever you go to see houses with a realtor. You need to estimate the cost of maintenance and the cost of your time, because your lifestyle will change when you buy a house. When I was buying a house, I knew that there would be maintenance costs, and I also knew that it would be a massive change to my lifestyle. I knew that I was not the type of person who was going to go out and hire out every single job needed at the house. That meant that a lot of the work was going to fall on my shoulders. Things like cleaning the gutters, digging trenches to build a French drain, painting ceilings, learning to mow the lawn, learning to replace hardware, and many other tasks that I had to learn when I first bought my house. Those are all costs. They're costs in time and also in resources, because you'll need materials to do those jobs. So you need to estimate both, and you need to be okay with the trade-offs from renting to buying a home, and take into consideration that you're adding these activities to your current schedule, whatever that may look like. So you will need to still squeeze in meal prep and doing the laundry and all the different responsibilities that you have today. And so you have to think about where these new responsibilities are going to fit in. As a general rule of thumb, I would urge you to keep your housing expenses below 2 weeks worth of your take-home pay. This is really important. If you can get it to be 1 week worth of your take-home pay, that is the best case scenario. And I know that is super hard right now, but the reality was, even after I had started working my full-time corporate job, I was still living in studios and rented rooms to try to make my dollar stretch as far as it could, and so that I had money to allocate to other things that were really important to me, like grad school. And that might be different for you. But the reality is that if your housing expenses are greater than 1 week or 2 weeks of your take-home pay, you're putting yourself in a really precarious situation in the event that you have an emergency. Not only that, I want to debunk the myth that when you have a mortgage, you are fixing your costs for the future. Yes, you are fixing the loan amount if you get a conventional loan with a fixed interest rate. Even for homeowners, housing costs have increased, because as home values have gone up, it has meant that our property taxes have increased. That has meant that our insurance costs for the home have also increased. That's just to name a couple of things, because the cost of doing maintenance and repairs or even upgrades to the homes have also gone up. So you're not really fixing your costs. You are fixing part of your cost, and that is a benefit to renting, but your cost of housing can still increase even when you're a homeowner. The second costly mistake that you can make when buying a house is getting an inexperienced realtor. To be honest, I knew that the bank was not going to be on my side, and that the pre-approval letter showed an amount of money greater than what I wanted to purchase, because it was not an accurate representation of what I could afford, but more what I could borrow. However, when it came to the realtor, I didn't realize how important it was for me to do a more thorough vetting process. I found my realtor at a community event, and he was just starting out. So I wanted to support a small business, but that was a mistake. The reality was that he was just starting out, and he needed the commission. So I often found him trying to persuade me to bid higher so that I would get the property. I was comfortable providing a lower bid than asking and missing out on the house, because every time I get in my car, I see plenty of houses, and I went into the process understanding that I couldn't fall in love with the house. I had to negotiate. I needed to start lower than the asking price in order for me to be able to negotiate. I also felt that he was often hurrying me up to pick a house, hurrying me up to make a decision on whether I was going to bid or not. And I felt this added pressure because he was just starting out and needed to speed up the process to get through the transaction and be able to get paid so that he could support himself. And I totally understand that. But I should have done a better job and better due diligence of interviewing realtors, asking for referrals from my network, and really working with someone who was farther along in their career and who was not so transactional dependent. So don't be like me. Do your own due diligence when picking a realtor, and when it comes to the largest purchase of your life, experience matters. The third mistake that people make whenever they go to buy their first home is being disengaged in the inspection process. I hired a company to do the inspection for the house whenever I was buying the house, and paid over $1,200 for the inspection. Now, this was a really thorough inspection. It covered the regular visual inspection, sewer line scoping, checking for mold, checking for termites, and also radon testing and water quality testing. So it was the full package. The day came for the inspection, and I met the inspector at the house. But I wrongly believed that the inspector was the expert and that I was just here to be with him and see him do the inspection. And that was the wrong attitude. My experience was that inspectors are approaching the inspection as a check the box exercise. They're checking the things on the list. And so they're checking for different things, but you also have eyes to see. And there were a couple of important things that were missed in the inspection. For example, the garage flooded when it rained. The basement windows were rotting. We had some wood that was rotting in the fascia of the house. So these are some things that if I had been looking, I might have been able to point them out and bring them up. But since I played a really passive role when it came to the inspection, I really over-relied on the inspection report. And that was a mistake. Whenever you're doing your own house inspection as part of the home buying process, you need to be an active participant, and you need to be looking at the different things in the house and asking questions, so that you have the highest chance of catching problems. And even then, you have to realize that there are things that might get missed. So those are the 3 things to avoid when buying your first home. Number 1, focusing on the mortgage and not the total cost of ownership for the home. Number 2, hiring an inexperienced realtor, major fail. And number 3, not being an active participant in your inspection, playing a passive role in the inspection. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus, and that is when the inspection report comes in, there will be things that will need to get fixed. In my case, I was mostly concerned with 2 of the things in the inspection report. In the negotiation, the seller offered to give me a check for the things that needed to be repaired. He had gotten a quote and submitted the quote and offered to give me a check to cover the repairs. And I, being a brand new buyer, accepted that. And that was a huge mistake, because when it came to actually doing the repairs, it turns out it took more work to fix the things that had originally been quoted. And guess who got stuck paying for the difference? Me. So when it comes to the inspection report, try to negotiate as much as possible for the seller to fix things instead of providing you with a check and placing the responsibility on you to do the repairs. Because there might always be more work that is needed than originally estimated, and you will be stuck with the difference. And if you need help in planning for that big purchase, then I am a personal finance coach. Please click the link in the description and schedule time for a money checkup. It's free and you can get a second opinion on your math. Thank you and see you next time.